Just got this Turnigy 9X transmitter receiver. It looks like it arrived in pretty good shape. I ripped the label off. But coming all the way from China, that's pretty neat. 26 bucks in shipping, so you always got to make sure it's something that's worth it. So here we go. And open this baby up. And because of the weight, they don't pack it anything other than paper. I was right up against the weight limit to get it here for as cheap, and didn't take too big of hits, which is nice. You can tell it was battered around a little bit, but that's to be expected. Big question is whether they're going to have the extra receivers I ordered in here. All right, let's see. And let's see, all of them? Yeah, got all my receivers. And here's the transmitter. Interesting. Looks good. This actually looks more substantial than I expected. I sort of expected something really kind of cheesy. My first impression is that it feels nice. Sticks feel nice too. I'm hoping that that's one of those protective labels. Probably is. Yeah, it is. There you go. Ooh, screen looks beautiful. Nice. I like that. Sticks feel great. Switch was on. So we're going to have to throw some batteries in this and see how see if it even fires up. And we'll be doing some range checking too, and see if we get any range. They give you a one of these battery holders. I know a lot of people are converting this whole thing to lithium, but I'm going to throw a set of nickel metal hydride batteries, the N-loop batteries that last a long time on the shelf. So we're just going to go the easy way out. I don't want to really bust into it that soon. Well, let's not break the cover. Wow, that trainer switch felt like it had never been moved before. Just typical quality. Feels good. These feel good. Nice. Yeah, controls. Can't wait to get some batteries in it. Let's take a look at these receivers. Okay, well that's, people were complaining that these were on the huge side. Now they're not as small as they could be, but they're certainly not big or too big. I kind of like it. And of course there's a single antenna hanging off of this, and that's the big question mark, is whether these single antenna receivers are going to have the range that they need. So let's see, and you get a little bind plug along with the receiver. So you know what, the quality, I think, in my first impression, is just as good as any inexpensive radio. Of course, if you look at the JR, I think it's 9503, or yeah, I think that's it. I mean, that's a gorgeous radio compared to this, but this is, typical. Looks like typical quality. I've got a 6i, Spectrum 6i, and it looks like about the same quality as you'd see, build quality as a Spectrum 6i. So we'll check this out. I got my new transmitter out, got a good set of batteries, put them in the compartment. A little bit of a trick to this, so I'll show it to you. These are the pre-charge nickel metal hydride. I just figured I'd just go with that. I know there's some mods out there for lithium, but I didn't want to mess with it. Didn't want to really rip into a new transmitter. I'm not saying that that's bad, but just go the way of least resistance here. It will fit in if you have the batteries up like this. If it's sideways, this cover won't fit on. Also, the cover won't fit on if the wires are not kind of laid in the gap there. It'll keep the cover hung up. Well, anyway, so I got the batteries in there. and I went to bind using my my P51. I just pulled out the Spectrum system and put this in line, the Turnigy, and I couldn't get it to bind. Tried it several times, and it just would not work. I was getting frantic, so I pulled apart the radio. Some of the guys on the group say, you know, take a look in there. You might have a plug that's been pulled out. Sure enough, when I opened it up, there was a plug that was part way out. So I was kind of excited. Pushed it in, put it all, you know, kind of back together. I still got some screws I got to put back in, and fired it up. Still would not bind, and I was getting really, you know, a little upset. I've got about 120 bucks with shipping in this whole thing, and only because I ordered 3 other receivers, and then of course the $26 in shipping. So it's like, oh boy, wow, you know, seen a lot about this. Sometimes you get a good one, sometimes you don't. So I pulled everything apart, and I decided, well, you know what, it looks like maybe the problem is just maybe not enough voltage going for the bind process. The light seemed kind of dim and blinking very fast. So I dug out a 5-volt power supply. It puts out a solid 5.4 volts, and plugged it in, and then I noticed the light was blinking at a slower pace and stronger, brighter. Messed around, still couldn't get it to bind. Then I started thinking, well, I read a post. Someone was saying something about you got to put the bind plug where the battery goes. And what does that mean? Well, I'm looking at this, and it says bind, bat, channel 8, channel 7, and so on. So I said, well, you know, I don't think it'll hurt to go in a different plug. So I put the battery in the top plug, the bind in the second plug. So battery, top, bind, 2. And sure enough, the light was blinking strong, and I turned on and hit the buttons, and it bound. No problems. So I've bound all 4 receivers, and I'm pretty excited. Next phase is a range test.
Taking it up to my local airport, we did a range check. We got over 3,000 feet. We quit. We didn't bother to take it out any further. It just it kept running, no problems. Since then, I've put it in my Radian motor glider and taken that up and had over 10 hours of successful flying to the point where it was a little tiny dot in the sky. I couldn't tell which way it was going, and no problems with range. So I'm pretty happy about that. Got it also flying in a little P51, and it's been fine. It's been great. The radio, as you can see, I've got this cheapy strap I got from Walmart for, I wanted to keep the theme flowing throughout this whole experience. So I got I think it's $1.19 for this little key thing in it, and it works as a nice neck strap. So I've got a $10 strap, but I wanted to put the cheap one on there just to keep it all flowing. Other than that, it's a good radio. I've been having a good time with it. The programming is clunky. The menus are clunky, but once you get used to them, it's not so bad. Remember, just to let you know, there's a short press and a long press when it comes to working the menu button. That's something that's important. If you're in a situation and you give it a long press, it might not work when you needed a short press. So just to keep that in mind. Other than that, it's got all the mixes that I'd ever want. It's got 3 types of aircraft, gliders, acro, and heli. This module, you don't want to take it out. It's got a cable connected to it. It's the antenna. It goes into the radio and out. It's really not designed to be removed. If you remove it, you're not going to be able to put it back in unless you pull the back off. Really simple to get it back in. You just kind of snake it, pull it back as you're pushing the module back in, and then you put the screws back on the backing, and then you're good to go. But don't pull it out. I'm liking it. Yeah, I think I'm going to order another one just to have a spare. I mean, it's 59 bucks. 59 bucks US includes a receiver, so not so bad.